Think about a moment in your life when you made a decision that changed everything. Maybe it was a sudden, irrational urge to walk down a different street, and you bumped into the love of your life. Maybe it was a quiet, undeniable gut feeling to quit a job that looked perfect on paper, only to dodge a massive bullet months later. Or perhaps it was a sudden, brilliant flash of an idea that seemed to drop into your mind from nowhere, completely solving a problem you had been struggling with for weeks. We have all experienced these moments. We call them intuition. We call them gut feelings. We call them lucky coincidences or synchronicities. But what if I told you that you are fundamentally mislabeling what is actually happening? What if I told you that those moments of sudden clarity were not random bursts of luck, and they were not vague, mystical interventions from the universe? What if I told you, using the hard, undeniable mathematics of quantum physics, that those gut feelings are actually memories, but they are not memories of your past. They are memories of your future. They are direct, verifiable communications sent backward through the fabric of time by the most powerful, successful, and evolved version of yourself. Today, we are going to completely dismantle the greatest illusion of the human experience, the illusion of linear time. We are going to look at a concept in quantum mechanics known as retrocausality, the mathematically proven reality that the future can, and does, influence the past. By the end of this masterclass, you are going to understand that you are not stumbling blindly through the dark, hoping you make the right choices to eventually reach your dream life. You are going to realize that the version of you who already has the wealth, the health, the peace, and the absolute freedom is already standing at the finish line, and they are actively throwing breadcrumbs backward through time, guiding every single one of your steps to ensure you arrive safely. You are going to learn how to consciously dial into that frequency. You are going to learn how to literally download the cheat codes from your future timeline to collapse time and manifest your desires with effortless, terrifying speed. To understand this magnificent mechanism, we must first unlearn the lie we were taught about time. From the day you were born, you were conditioned to believe that time is a straight, one-way street. You were taught that the past is a locked vault that can never be changed. The present is a tiny, fleeting moment, and the future is a blank, empty void, waiting to be built by your hard work and struggle. This concept is called the arrow of time. It feels incredibly real to our physical senses, but in the realm of advanced astrophysics and quantum mechanics, the arrow of time does not exist. It is a biological illusion created by the human brain to prevent us from being overwhelmed by infinite data. Albert Einstein, the man who fundamentally rewrote our understanding of the cosmos, introduced us to the concept of the block universe. In the block universe theory, space and time are fused together into a single, rigid, four-dimensional structure. In this structure, every single moment that has ever happened, is happening, or will ever happen, exists simultaneously. Imagine a DVD of your favorite movie. Every single scene, from the opening credits to the final triumphant climax, exists perfectly and simultaneously on that disc. The end of the movie already exists at the exact same moment the beginning exists, but when you put the disc into a player, the laser can only read one single frame at a time. The laser is your consciousness. Your consciousness is moving through the block universe, illuminating one slice of space-time and calling it now. But the future frames, the frames where you have mastered your reality, where you are living in absolute abundance, they are already printed on the disk. They are fully rendered, mathematically viable realities existing right now in the quantum field. Creation is already finished. You do not have to struggle, force, and bleed to build your dream life from scratch. It is already built. Now, if the future already exists, the question becomes, are these different frames of time completely isolated from one another? Does the future just sit there, silently waiting for you to eventually stumble into it? For decades, classical physicists believed the answer was yes. They believed in strict causality, that a cause in the past must always precede an effect in the future. If you drop a glass, it shatters. The dropping, the cause, happens before the shattering, the effect. It seemed unbreakable. But then, physicists began designing experiments at the quantum level that completely broke the laws of linear cause and effect. They began exploring a concept called retrocausality. In simplified terms, retrocausality is the phenomenon where an effect occurs before its cause. It is the physics of the future reaching back and changing the past. One of the most mind-bending demonstrations of this is the delayed choice quantum eraser experiment. Without getting bogged down in the dense mathematics, here's what this experiment essentially proved. Scientists discovered that a measurement taken in the present can actually reach back in time and change the behavior that a particle exhibited in the past. The particle's history is rewritten based on a future decision. Let the gravity of that sink into your mind. At the fundamental, subatomic level of reality, the level that makes up your body, your environment, and your brain, the future is constantly communicating with the past. Time is not a one-way street. It is a two-way superhighway. Information flows backward just as easily as it flows forward. So what does this mean for you, the conscious observer? What does this mean for your manifestations, your anxieties, and your feeling of being stuck in the 3D lag? It means that the highest, most evolved version of yourself, the avatar living in the timeline where all your desires are already fulfilled, is not a fantasy. They are a real, physical entity existing in the quantum field. And because of retrocausality, that future version of you is capable of sending information backward down the timeline to you, right now. Have you ever wondered why, when you are trying to manifest a new reality, you suddenly start seeing strange synchronicities? You see repeating numbers like 1111 or 333. You hear a specific song. You stumble across a video just like this one, at the exact moment you needed to hear it. We often call these signs from the universe. We think it is some external, mystical force patting us on the head. It is not an external force. It is you. It is the future version of you, standing at the finish line, dropping breadcrumbs backward through the maze of time. They are sending you highly specific, mathematically precise quantum signals, gut feelings, sudden impulses, synchronicities, designed to guide your consciousness perfectly into their timeline. When you get a sudden, undeniable gut feeling to take a specific action, it is not a random neurological firing. It is a memory from the future. It is your successful self whispering back down the timeline, saying, "Turn here, take this path. It leads to me." This realization is the ultimate cure for manifestation anxiety. It is the absolute final death of fear. Why are you agonizing over the how? Why are you exhausting yourself trying to figure out the exact steps required to reach your goal? You are trying to navigate a dark maze with a flashlight that only shines 1 inch in front of you. You do not need to figure out the maze. You simply need to listen to the version of you who is already standing outside the maze, looking down at the entire map. But how do we consciously open this channel of communication? How do we tune our internal radio to receive these signals clearly, without the static of our current fears and doubts? How do we execute the retrocausality protocol and begin to download the cheat codes from our future timeline? It requires a profound, beautiful shift in the way we interact with the present moment. We must learn how to construct the quantum bridge. We must learn how to tune our internal receiver to catch the signals being broadcast from our future timeline. The reason most people never hear the guidance of their future self, the reason they remain stuck in cycles of struggle, repeating the same mistakes year after year, is because their internal radio is tuned strictly to the frequency of their past. Your brain, in its default state of survival, is constantly scanning your environment for threats. It references your past traumas, your past failures, and your past limitations to predict what will happen next. If you are operating from this state of survival, your nervous system is broadcasting a thick, heavy cloud of static. You are surrounded by the loud, chaotic noise of what has been. And because of this static, the delicate, elegant signals coming backward from your successful future self cannot get through. The signal is blocked. To open the channel of retrocausality, you must silence the static. You must master the art of becoming a pristine, receiving antenna. This is where the hard science of frequency intersects perfectly with the teachings of the great mystics, particularly Neville Goddard. Neville taught that to manifest a new reality, you must enter the state of the wish fulfilled. You must assume the feeling of the end result before there is any physical evidence of it. For decades, people misunderstood this. They thought assuming the feeling meant they had to force themselves to be happy 24/7. They thought it meant aggressively visualizing their goal until they were exhausted. But that is forcing. That is the ego trying to manipulate the 3D world. Assuming the state of the wish fulfilled is not an act of forcing. It is an act of tuning. Think about the version of you who is living in your ultimate, desired timeline. The version of you who has the absolute financial freedom, the profound love, the perfect health. What is their baseline emotional state? Are they frantic? Are they desperately hoping things will work out? Are they constantly checking the 3D reality for validation? No. They are at peace. They are relaxed. They operate from a state of quiet, unshakable certainty. They have the prize, so the desperation is completely gone. Their nervous system is calm. Their heart rhythm is coherent. When you sit in the quiet of your room, close your eyes, and intentionally generate that exact feeling of relief, gratitude, and absolute certainty in your body right now, you are doing something magnificent. You are not just feeling good. You are matching the exact electromagnetic frequency of your future self. This is how the quantum bridge is built. In physics, this is called resonance. When two tuning forks are calibrated to the exact same pitch, striking one will cause the other to vibrate in perfect sympathy, even across a room. When you cultivate the feeling of the wish fulfilled in the present moment, you are striking the tuning fork of your heart. And across the expanse of the block universe, the tuning fork of your future self begins to resonate in perfect sympathy. You align the frequencies. The bridge is formed. And once that bridge is open, the data begins to flow. The cheat codes begin to download. But what does this download actually look like? How does your future self communicate with you? It rarely comes as a booming voice from the sky or a burning bush. The language of the quantum field is far more elegant and far more subtle. It speaks through the mechanics of your own intuition. You must learn to distinguish the voice of your future self from the noise of your ego. Your ego, the survival mechanism rooted in your past, speaks loudly. It speaks in urgency. It speaks in fear, logic, and limitation. It says, "You must do this now or you will fail. You cannot take that risk. Remember what happened last time? You don't have enough money for that." The ego analyzes the maze from the ground level, panicking at every dead end. The voice of your future self, the retrocausal signal, operates entirely differently. It speaks quietly. It speaks in sudden flashes of inspiration that feel incredibly light and expansive. It arrives as a gentle, undeniable knowing in your gut. It might guide you to pick up a specific book, drive down a different street, or call a friend you haven't spoken to in years, for absolutely no logical reason. The future self does not explain the entire maze to you. It simply highlights the very next step in glowing gold. This is the secret of the inspired action. When you are struggling to manifest, you often take forced action. You grind, you hustle, you push against the 3D world out of fear that it won't happen. Forced action is dense. It is exhausting. It is the action of the avatar trying to rewrite the code with their bare hands. Inspired action feels entirely different. It feels effortless. It feels like you are being pulled forward by an invisible string, rather than pushing yourself from behind. When you receive a true impulse from your future timeline, acting upon it does not feel like work. It feels joyful. It feels like flow. You must develop the courage to follow these subtle, illogical breadcrumbs, even when your rational mind screams that it makes no sense. The version of you standing at the finish line can see the entire map. They know that what looks like a detour is actually the shortcut. They know that the seemingly random impulse to go to a specific coffee shop is exactly where you need to be to meet the person who holds the key to your next level. But navigating this bridge requires absolute trust, especially when the 3D world seems to contradict your new frequency. This is where the simulation will test you most aggressively. When you align with the frequency of your future self, the universe begins to rapidly rearrange the physical atoms of your life to match that new timeline. During this rearrangement, things can appear chaotic. The old structures of your life must be dismantled to make room for the new. You might lose a job. A relationship might suddenly end. An unexpected expense might appear. The old, untuned version of you would look at this chaos and collapse into fear. You would say, "It isn't working. The universe is punishing me. I'm going backward." And in that moment of fear, you would drop the frequency, break the quantum bridge, and trap yourself back in the old timeline. But the master, the one who understands the physics of retrocausality, looks at the chaos and smiles. You realize that the chaos is not a punishment. It is the physical evidence of the shift. It is the demolition crew clearing the site. You look at the crumbling of your old life and you say, "I see what is happening. The old code is compiling out of the system. My future self is moving the obstacles out of my way." You hold your ground. You maintain the frequency of the wish fulfilled, even while standing in the rubble of the old reality. This is the ultimate test of the conscious creator. Can you hold the vibration of the destination while walking through the uncomfortable transition? If you can hold the bridge open during the storm will pass with shocking speed. The 3D lag will catch up to your internal state, and the new reality will render around you seamlessly. So how do we make this a daily, unbreakable practice? How do we build a routine that keeps the quantum bridge open 24 hours a day, allowing the guidance of the future to flow into our present continuously? We must master the art of the retrocausal anchor. We must learn to live from the end. Understanding that your future self is broadcasting signals backward through time is only the first step. To truly collapse time and experience the quantum leap, you must actively, consciously receive those signals and weave them into your daily existence. You must build an environment where those subtle whispers can be heard over the deafening roar of the 3D world. The most powerful tool you possess for this is the deliberate use of gratitude. But I am not talking about the superficial gratitude of simply being thankful for what you have in the present. I am talking about quantum gratitude. I am talking about feeling profound, tear-inducing thankfulness for an event that has not yet occurred in your physical reality. Think about the physics of the emotion of gratitude. We only feel true gratitude after we receive something. Therefore, the emotional signature of gratitude is the ultimate signal to the quantum field that the event has already happened. It is the signature of completion. When you sit in the quiet of your room and you generate immense gratitude for the wealth, the health, or the relationship you desire, you are performing a miraculous hack on the rendering engine. You are signaling to the simulation that the timeline is finished. And because the universe must reflect your internal state, it is forced to rapidly compile the physical events to match that gratitude. But more importantly, quantum gratitude acts as the perfect receiving antenna for retrocausality. By living in the feeling of the end, you are a perfect vibrational match to your future self. Here's your daily protocol. The retrocausal anchor. Every night in the 10 minutes before you fall asleep, as your brain slows down from beta into the highly programmable, quantum receptive theta state, do not review the problems of your day. Do not analyze your current 3D reality. Instead, close your eyes and build the bridge. Imagine a conversation with the version of yourself who is 5 years in the future, living entirely inside your dream reality. Do not ask them how they got there. Do not ask for step-by-step instructions. The logical mind cannot comprehend the complexity of quantum synchronicities. Instead, simply ask them to send you the feeling of being there. Ask them to broadcast the frequency of their peace, their absolute security, and their effortless joy. And as you lie there, allow your nervous system to absorb that feeling. Feel the tension drain from your jaw. Feel the heaviness lift from your chest. Allow yourself to physically embody the relief of the person who has already won the game. Fall asleep bathed in the frequency of your own future. When you wake up, your job is to carry that frequency, that anchor, with you into the 3D world. You step into the physical simulation, not as someone trying to create a new life, but as someone who is simply walking the path that has already been cleared for them. When a decision arises during your day, pause. Do not ask your past what you should do. Do not ask your fears what is safe. Ask the anchor. Ask the version of you who is standing at the finish line. Which choice feels lighter? Which choice aligns with the frequency of my destination? And when the answer comes, as a sudden impulse, a quiet knowing, a gentle nudge to turn left instead of right, obey it. Obey it ruthlessly, even if it makes no logical sense to your current circumstances. Trust the breadcrumbs. As you practice this, the illusion of linear time will begin to shatter. You will stop experiencing life as a grueling, uphill battle against the elements. You will stop feeling like you are pushing a boulder. Instead, you will experience a profound, beautiful phenomenon. You will feel as though you are being pulled. You will feel the magnetic, irresistible gravity of your future timeline drawing you forward. The synchronicities will accelerate. The coincidences will become so mathematically impossible, so perfectly orchestrated, that you will have no choice but to laugh at the breathtaking intelligence of the system you are operating. You will realize that the universe was never testing you. It was never punishing you. It was simply waiting for you to stop fighting the mirror. It was waiting for you to tune your radio to the right station, so that it could finally deliver the masterpiece it had already finished. You are not alone in this journey. You have never been alone. The most powerful, brilliant, unshakable ally you could ever ask for is watching over every step you take. They are standing in the sunlight of your desired reality. They are looking back down the timeline at you, right now, in this very moment. They are smiling. They are whispering, "You made it. Just keep walking. I am right here." Stop worrying about the how. Stop fighting the illusion of time. Tune into the frequency. Anchor the feeling. Follow the breadcrumbs. The future is already yours. Catch up to it.